Hello, sacred souls. It's Susanna from Alamanic Shaman. What I have here for us tonight is a bunch of stuff. So basically, first, tearing through the dark veil of congesting lack energies that are right in our face, and then opening up to prosperity, which is represented by this doll reenacting the fairy tale Star Money. Okay, and I'll explain it a little bit more in detail. I just wanted to kind of give you the topic first, which was also a long one. But basically, a few things have been happening. And the last few days, I was in like pretty bad lack energies. And I've also had this congestion right in my face. So it's like my nasal passages felt congested, but I knew I wasn't sick. I felt fine. So usually when that happens, that's because there's really invasive energy right up in our face, right? And then I actually ended up getting stuck in the mud that felt more like quicksand. Like when I started sinking in, and you can see the shoes here, my instant thought was, oh my gosh, it's like quicksand, but it was mud. It was like really sort of muddy, thick, heavy soil. And I managed to just sit on the hardened part right next to where I had stepped. And I ended up having to take both of my shoes off and pulling the shoes out of the mud separately. Like I couldn't just pull my foot back out again with the shoe on. That's how much it was pulling me down, or my feet down, right? So that's exactly representative of the energies that we're dealing with. They just keep trying to pull us down, and we try to keep pulling ourselves up and out of that constant, energetic quicksand, basically, right? And then here, this was the candle from the last ceremony that I did with the wax that was from ceremonies from the past, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks. I didn't keep exactly track of how long I've been collecting it, but it's also interesting that it was mainly white or off-white wax and a little bit of black wax, but it ended up having the color of sort of like dark violet, which is really like the crown chakra, right? And what really stood out to me is, first of all, only like the top part of the candle had burnt down overnight until I went to work, put it in the shower as usual for safety. And by the time I came home, it was completely burnt down. So it had just ripped right through it, and it was smoking really a toxic smell. And I ended up putting it out. I basically snuffed it out with a tin can that was in my recycling. You can kind of see a little bit the lines here, because it was such a toxic smell. So there's a lot of toxicity coming out. And what I feel very strongly here is the leftover wick really looks like a black or dark snake, right? It's that snake energy that basically also represents the devil energy, right? So it's that dishonest, sneaky, manipulative energy that tries to control, but in a sort of covert way. And the only piece that is not melted right in there is this piece. And I feel that this is kind of like the devil's horns. It's a mask, but kind of with the devil horns here on the side. And down here, it feels like the mouth of an animal, kind of like a toad or something like that. So it's like, and I didn't even take a lot of time. I'm sure I could see more, like if I focused more, because this kind of almost looks like Jabba the Hutt. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, that could almost be a unicorn or some similar type of actually like a dragon almost. Yeah, more like a dragon, right? So I haven't really looked at the rest. It's just these were the things that initially stood out to me. But like there was a lot going on. And what I feel is that, first of all, we got to break this dark cycle. So the little medicine man doll that I have in there, that is also my doubles as a unisex doll, right? I put inside this black shopping bag, and I'm gonna like cut it open and tear it open to basically free ourselves from that dark netting or webbing that keeps restricting us. And over here, the female doll, I actually put the dress from the bigger doll on her so that she could catch the star money the way it's described in the fairy tale. And just very quickly, so in the fairy tale, this little girl, or I don't know what age she's supposed to be, but I'm guessing probably between 5 and 10, 12-ish. Anyhow, she ends up being an orphan after her parents died, and somehow in that fairy tale, she was also not able to stay at home, so she lost her home. She didn't have anything. Someone had given her some bread, so she just had the clothes on her body and that piece of bread. And she ended up giving the bread and most of her clothes away to those who were in even more need. But she kept being positive and grateful and spiritual throughout. And then the universe rewarded her by having basically the heaven open up and have stars drop down that turned into coins. So, ergo, and she was catching, like, there are different variations of that fairy tale, but the one that I remember from childhood had her catching the money with her skirt, right? But the version that I just listened to on YouTube didn't go into all those details, but either way, like, it doesn't matter, but it's basically like money that rained down from heaven, right? So being rewarded for being on the right path and having the blessings and abundance and prosperity come to us because we're on the right path, because we're continuing with faith, with, you know, being grateful and remaining generous as well, right? Like helping others even if we're struggling ourselves, possibly, or in whatever aspect, right? So that's the reward of the universe that we're going to call in. And let me think if there's any other aspect that I need to mention. I think that explains everything. Okay, so then let's smudge and get started. Okay, 1, 2. Oh, yes, and the end of the fairy tale was that from that moment on, she was rich. Like, she never had to worry about, you know, lack or poverty ever again after that. Okay, please cleanse, clear, and renew all of our energies and take away anything dark, evil, low vibrational, and unhealed. Any restricting energies, all of that shall now be cleansed away, cleared, and transmuted into pure divine essence and returned to the universe for reintegration. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. And help us fully and completely reconnect to our own inner divinity, as well as that all around us, and through that help us be in oneness again with all of creation. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. All right, so let's call in our divine team. Dear divine higher power of the universe, our higher selves, our higher spirit guides of the light, our ancestors that are in the light, dear Mother Earth, powers of all four directions, powers of the east, powers of the south, powers of the west, powers of the north, powers of all four elements, air, earth, fire, and water, and all other benevolent powers, forces, spirits, and beings of the universe that are of the light. Please join the ceremony and assist the healings, prayers, and protection with all of your powers. Thank you. Please close the circle of protection around us. Thank you. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, I feel like I'm having trouble breathing. And it's like at the throat. So kind of like at the bottom of the throat right here where somebody would have strangled us. And is trying to like stop us from speaking our mind, speaking our truth. So that's, thanks, that's those energies that we're still dealing with, that we need to fully and completely free ourselves from. Thank you. Okay, so let's start by lighting our ceremony candle. And I'm going to put that right in there. I forgot to mention that part earlier. I want to have it as a light, as a beacon of light, right in the center of all of that's been going on there. And the stuff that are still the darker influences, not all of them. Like I feel the dragon here is not necessarily a dark one, but some dragons can also be darker, right? So the rest of this stuff, also the toad, doesn't necessarily have to be dark, but these are the energies that are darker and low vibrational that we're currently healing from. Thank you, spirits. Okay, that's it. Oh, and Jabba the Hutt was basically a slave master, right? So slavery is one of the things that our soul, our energy field still needs to heal from, usually from past lifetimes. But actually it doesn't have to be, sadly enough. I did, like in those years of teaching adult ESL, for many years we registered new students right in class because we had continuous intake, and there was one, like I had to ask them, like if they couldn't fill it out themselves, I had to ask them, and sometimes with a translator, right? Like what their schooling background was, what their job was, and so on, right? And for job, that one student said slave, and I was like, what? And she said, yeah, I was a slave. And when we all came to Canada here, like when her like slave owners, like the family that had enslaved her, came to Canada, she made her escape. And she came from Africa and was enslaved there. Since she didn't speak much English, I didn't know the exact circumstances, and it also felt kind of invasive, but there are some areas, some war zones where I guess those ancient tribal practices of, like, let's say enslaving the enemy, right, are still in practice in some, especially rural areas, right? So in Western countries, we may think that that's all part of ancient history or somewhat ancient history, but yeah, in some places around the world, human rights are still not respected to this day, right? So, and the right to be free. So thank you. So it feels like this is actually a big part of that heaviness, that continuous, blatant disregard of human rights. Sorry, give me a second. Oh. So by lighting this candle, let all this darkness, all this heaviness, that especially those of us who are empaths and highly sensitive feel very strongly and carry in our energy field as well. Let all of that now heal away. Let it be transmuted, healed and transmuted into light, into divine energy. Let us thank the divine for the lesson that was sometimes necessary to push us into deeper understanding of the cruelty that is the opposite of kindness. And what separation can do to people or make people do. Oh, hang on, it's not enough yet. One moment. The dark curled snake is kind of still using up too much space there, so I have to put it like next to it, I think. Let's see. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. So with this candle, let light be brought into all this darkness. And channel in massive, unlimited, infinite amounts of divine light. Let them enter all this darkness and illuminate it. Let it spread just like the roots of a tree spread underground. It's dark in the earth, but at the same time, there are also nutrients. So it's like that's what's needed for growth, right? So in that sense, those experiences are necessary for the growth of our soul, for that's needed for the ascension process, right? Thank you. And let this dark veil that kept pulling us down and keeping us down, that webbing and netting that the darkness put all around us, let it be cut and ripped open. Oof, and there's an itch on my shoulder as well. It's like we've been shouldering that burden for so long. And we shall now stand on top of this, victorious, and reclaim our power. And by having this veil of lack and resistance and darkness broken, cut off, and ripped off, all of our blessings shall now stream in, just as they did in the fairy tale Star Money. Where money just starts raining down on this girl in the fairy tale, and so it shall rain down on us. Prosperity and blessings and abundance in all areas of our lives shall stream in. We're truly blessed by the divine because we never lost faith and we helped others even though we weren't doing that great ourselves, but we knew it was the right thing to do. We are massively blessed, divinely blessed, with an infinite abundance streaming in all areas of our lives. All of our hopes, wishes, and dreams shall now take fruition. They shall now manifest and come into reality. And we shall be able to live the lives we're meant to live. We shall now be able to live up to our soul's purpose in this lifetime and fulfill our soul mission. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. All right. And so it is. We're now open to all the blessings of the divine to start streaming in, and we're in our power now. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations, all our relations. Ooh, hold on. There's one more thing I'm being guided to. Get rid of this dark snake, or at least cut it. Okay, some parts are melted in there, but at least the head I cut off, and the rest, oh, I think I can actually do it. Here we go. There. Okay, the important parts are removed. And the light shall now be shielded and protected like in a shell to bring in all the healing that is still required to get rid of any remaining darkness that we've still carried within us, that we carried as burdens on our shoulders. We were shouldering that burden, and we're now letting it go. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. Whew. And this is all thanks to our ancestors, represented by this bone. And so it is. Oh, this one I'll put here. Okay. That's it, everyone. If you'd like to stay in these energies a bit longer, please pause the video. For the rest of us, let the ceremony now be finished. Please let us give massive amounts of love, thanks, gratitude, and blessings to our divine team. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And let the circle of protection now be opened and the ceremony be finished. But please keep us strongly safe, shielded, and protected by a massive 12D shield of golden light with the divine seal of protection all around us. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations, all our relations. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching, for being a part of the ceremony, and for being on your own healing and ascension journey. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm also sending you tons of love, light, and blessings. Be well until next time. And I wish you great abundance. May truth and integrity always be with you. Bye.